Hi, this is a demonstration video to show how to replace belts in this 5-disc Carver SD A-360 CD player. Let me show you what it's doing right now. If you turn the unit on, you can hear a sound in the inside. Okay, I think that was just the rotation of the CD palette. Now if I try to open this, you can hear that. There's a motor running, and then you hear like a little squeak sound. That's just because the belt that runs the gears, that pushes the tray in and out, is bad. And we'll take this apart and replace it along with another belt which controls the rotation of the disc platter. So to do the removal of the top, it's pretty self-explanatory. In this particular case, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 4 more on this side. 8, 9, 10, 11. Those 11 screws will come out. And I'm going to get those out now. One thing I remembered, there are 4 additional screws that I had previously removed, which I will show you where those are here. Get my screws back here. They sit here and here. I removed those previously, but those 2 screws are on each side. No, this will come off. And now we can pull the cover off. And for safety's sake, we'll turn the unit off and unplug it from the wall. Always have it unplugged. You're doing internal work. Okay, now here's what it looks like inside. So I mentioned there's 2 belts, one that runs the whole platter in and out, and then there's another belt that runs the platter rotation. And those have both gone bad. Well, on this unit, I've replaced, I'll show you how to replace both of them. The one that runs the unit in and out is definitely not working, as we noted. Now, to get this unit out, we need to remove this bracket, which is 3 screws. 1, 2, 3. And then you pull out a little bit and it comes out pretty easily. And then we need to remove this metal bracket, which is 2 screws. 1, 2. You'll be able to get to this one once this comes off. And then you gotta remove this bracket. 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. These 2 side metal brackets are just holding the unit down on the track so it can slide forward and backward and not pop off the track. We will also have to remove this screw, which will allow us to remove this bracket here, which is where the CD actually spins. I'll remove those items now. Takes a little bit of pressure to release that. There's some divots there that it locks into, so you have to pull it apart a little bit and then just pull it forward and then out. Then these brackets come out. These 4 screws. Okay, and then we'll pull this out. Okay. And set that aside. Now, a wide angle here. And this will just lift out real easy. Set that aside. And hold. Okay, so now this platter will lift out. Not the platter, but this platform will lift out. Now you'll see the back of this is kind of underneath these brackets here. In order to pull this out, we need to push it forward a little bit first. There's a gear underneath here. Oops, sorry, I didn't remove this. Forgot to remove my plate. There's a gear right here. So when you turn that, you will see this platter will start to move. See, I'm turning it, turning it, turning it, See it? Now it's starting to move. So that releases it from this back bracket here. So now we can lift it out. Oops. Sorry about the camera work. This lifts out. And there are wires, as you can see, but you can set it on top, kind of balance it up there. So down here, this is the belt that's slipping. It is not allowing these gears to turn and push this tray in and out. So this is what we're going to replace. Very easy to access. You just grab it with your finger, pull it off. There it is. Now, these belts, you know, this one might look okay, but when you touch it, it's kind of really soft. And when you stretch it, it doesn't, it kind of retracts back kind of slowly. It just doesn't feel like it has any resiliency to it at all. It's kind of just soft and worn out now. We're going to replace that with another belt, about the same size, and really it's quite straightforward here. Let's zoom in a little bit. For one thing, first you want to do before you can put new belts on is get a Q-tip and you just take a Q-tip and you can put it into some alcohol. Let me get a clean one here. You can dip a Q-tip into just a little bit of a like isopropyl alcohol. I usually use about 90%. And then you put it here and you just turn, turn, turn. And then usually you'll see some black come off. Same with this one, you just put it on here and turn, turn, turn. You want to get these pulleys nice and clean so that they grip the new belt properly. So once you've done that, I'll put the new belt on here. It's really quite easy on this one. It's very accessible. You just wrap it around. Don't get any oil on it or grease from the gears. And rotate it. And make sure that there's no twists in it. See, as I spin it, you can tell there's no twists. And it's, you know, turning the gear properly and everything. So that's all there is to that particular gear. Very easy, very accessible. The other gear, let me go back wide here. The other gear is underneath this pallet, this tray. Let me see if I can arrange this so that show you. There's the other belt right there, see? There's the motor and the pulley that it goes on right there. This belt I've already replaced, but I can show you how to replace it. There are screws in there. Let me pull this over. There we go. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pull those 5 screws out. And then that plate comes off. You can lift that plate up and then get the one, two, three. 4. Sorry about the shaky video. Alright, we got our 5 screws out. Okay. So now see, this can be lifted up a little bit. This pin here is going through that pulley there. So if you kind of push on the pin a little bit, pull out, you can see now I can get to that belt. And it's easy as pulling this off here and pulling it out. That's it. Now this is the new belt. I replaced this prior to this video, but that's the process to get it out, and it's just reverse to put it back in. Pretty simple. Just get it back around the gear, around the pulley rather, and stretch it across the motor, and doesn't always work the first time. There. Same with the other belt. Once you put it back together, you want to spin that belt, or spin the pulleys, and make sure there is no twists in them. Let's see if I can. I can't turn the light on. Let's try it this way. There we go. Now we've got our light on. So if I rotate that pulley, spin the motor here, you just want to make sure there's no twists in it. And of course, this is the same thing as the other pulley. Once you pull off your old belt, you'll go in with a Q-tip, and you'll want to clean both pulleys off with that isopropyl alcohol. Let it dry, and then you can put your pulley back on. But this pulley is running straight. Looks like there's a little bit of rubber debris in there. There we go. Okay. Set it back down here. So that's that. We are good on this unit. Again, this is what spins the platter around. Makes it move from disc to disc. Now I will replace those screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That one I might need to get in there differently. Okay, get these all tightened up. Okay. Now we're done with that part. Our belt is in there straight. Gears are turning. Now we can set the tray back in. We're back in our position here. Set that back down so it's fully seated. When you know it's seated, you can see that gear's turning as I move this back and forth, and there's no gap, or the gap is the same as it was before. Make sure it's seated on this side all the way down. Incidentally, if you're inside here, it doesn't hurt to inspect the laser. This laser was dirty, and it was actually causing slow search and seek. It wouldn't play right away. It would just act kind of funny that way. So I took another clean Q-tip, and I just went in and put some isopropyl alcohol on it. Some people do this dry. I suppose you can do that too. This is just the way I do it. I'm not saying this is the right way. This is just how I happen to do it. I take some isopropyl, put it on a clean Q-tip, and I just go around like this. And sometimes you'll see some, dark stuff come off of there, and I did when I cleaned this previously. And then once you've done that, you can take the clean end, the dry end, and just wipe it down one more time and call it good. That did fix the seek problem. Now it plays just fine. I will mention one more thing actually before we put this all back together. This unit also had an issue where when you would hit eject, open close, the tray would come out and then it would just go right back in. You'd hit open again, tray would come out, and then it would just go right back in. So there are a couple switches that tell the system when to open and close, and those switches are over here. This is a limit switch that tells the unit when it's fully out, like you know, when it's all the way out and you can put discs in. And then there's another switch inside here. Get something to point with. See this? These two pieces of metal, this is like a reed switch. So when this is rotating, what you'll see is, see if I can demonstrate here. You'll see that those, see how they, when they hits this limit, it pushes those two pieces of metal together. You can't really see underneath there so well, but that's what's happening. It's pushing against that. Two pieces of metal are getting pushed together, and that's causing the electrical contact. Well, when it's in that position, it tells it that the tray is all the way in, so that the electronics know, you know, that it's in the right position to go ahead and rotate and play discs and all that. So if either of these switches are not functioning properly, it won't work. And that's what was causing this thing to come out and then go back in without me touching any buttons. I would hit the open, it would come out, go back in right away. Now, what I did was I took some plastic compatible electrical cleaner and I sprayed just a little bit inside the switch here, and I sprayed just a little bit back in on this reed switch underneath this gear. And you want to be careful because those cleaners are degreasers and you don't want to get it on the gears and lose all the grease and the oil off your gears. But once I cleaned these two switches, that tray problem stopped. So when I hit open, the tray would come out and it would just stop, just like normal, like it should. Then you can load the discs, hit close, and it would go back in. It stopped that problem where it would come out, go back in instantly. So if you're having that problem, those two switches are ones that you want to look at and make sure they're clean and functional. Okay. Now we can reassemble, but we went over that. Probably more information than you wanted to know, but if you happen to have that problem, get this back out of the position here. Line these up, okay. Now I'm going to reassemble. Let me turn off my light here. I'm going to reassemble the platter. When you set the platter in, it just goes in real simply, like this. And then I recommend that you rotate it until this lines up with the laser and it drops down a little bit more. So now it's fully seated, okay? And then we can put on this bracket here. If you notice that the grease is worn off here, this one still has some grease on it. You know, you can put a little bit of plastic compatible grease on there, some thin grease, just to keep this lubricated properly as it functions. So, get this thing lined up here. There we go. It's centered and seated properly. Now we can put these back together, and I'll show you now that it's functioning before we fully reassemble it. But I want to partially reassemble it first. Make sure it's working before we put all the brackets back in. Okay, I'm going to plug in some power. It is now plugged back in. Let me go wide here. And now turn on the power. It's just searching for disks. Now if I hit open, our problem is fixed. And like I mentioned before, this unit would just come out and go right back in after cleaning those two switches I talked about. It started working properly. Now if we load it up with some disks, I think I have two on one of these. I do. Skip disk here and load it. And now if we hit play, you'll see disk load. I have it hooked to this amplifier here. I need to turn it on first, I guess. See the seeking and all that. Works good now. Plays great. And then it'll skip disk to disk. And hit play. So this unit is now functioning. It just needs to be reassembled. I've unplugged the unit just so I don't get shocked. Okay, we're going to give this thing power one more time, one final test. Going through to check the CDs, and if we hit play, if we skip the disc, playing, seeking quickly now. Skip disc. Disc 3, that sounds like, alright, sounds like it's working. And we'll hit open, skip. Yep, disc 3 is Elton John, so all the discs are lined up. One thing I didn't mention, when you put this tray back in the platter, you don't have to line it up just the way it was before. There's some encoding that it does, so it can realign to know disc 3 is in this spot, you know, so you don't have to worry about that. Just put it back in there, make sure it's fully seated, and screw it back down. Yeah, this unit's working real good. It's got good power. Belt's no longer slipping. Yeah. You'll notice if I open this incidentally, it will still play. That's because when it loads the disc, it kind of separates it from the platter and allows it to play independently of the platter moving in and out. So that's kind of nice. You can mess with the discs, swap them out, put them back in while one is playing at the same time. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for viewing.